Acts up sometimes.
Yeah.
What's up, everybody? It's Sam with Rowdy Alternative, and today we're with Jason Charles Miller. How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm feeling rowdy and I'm feeling alternative. So I think I'm the right guy for today.
Right on. We're glad to hear that, man. So for people listening, I've covered Jason a few times, and we've kind of been in touch over the internet. So this is kind of cool to finally be able to get this interview done. So I guess before we really start off, man, what have you been up to lately? Busy with shows or recording, anything like that? I know you do a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, busy with shows, busy with recording. I've got a single coming out on Friday in conjunction with my favorite soccer team, Wolverhampton Wanderers over in England. I just got back from Sturgis. I played with Kristen Knievel at the Buffalo Chip.
Wow.
So that was a lot of fun. And then, a couple of weeks before that, we played at the Grand Old Echo, which is like Southern California's answer to the Grand Old Opry, at a club out here called the Echo. Every Sunday in the summer, they have like a Americana fest, and I played that a few weeks ago. Got some video game music coming out. I'm getting ready to go to Japan next month to sing 2 nights at Budokan for a Final Fantasy XIV soundtrack concert. I'm all over the place, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Right on. It's good to be busy. And I'd like to hit, before we even start off, I'd like to hit on that, your work with the video game industry. In a nutshell, can you kind of explain like what you've done in that way? I like you said, you've done music for them.
Yeah, so I am a voice actor, but I also have sung and composed music for a lot of video games. So, for example, with my friend Jameson, I have a side project called Resodrone, and we wrote 3 songs for the game Cyberpunk 2077. But I've sung 4 songs in Final Fantasy XIV, 2 songs in Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. I've been on the Star Trek Online soundtrack. I've been on the Guilty Gear soundtrack. And it just kind of happened through of being in the business for so long. People that I knew started getting jobs working in video games, or maybe there was like a casting agent that knew me from acting, but also knew I was a singer and a musician. And all of these games that I've been involved with on the music side have purely been almost a coincidence. Like, people ask me, how do I get into that? And I would be like, man, if I knew, I would tell you. I most recently sang in front of 30,000 people about 3 weeks ago at the AEW All In pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And the way that happened was Kenny Omega is a huge Final Fantasy fan. And so he asked the composer of Final Fantasy 14 and 16 to write his new intro song. And they asked me to sing it. So since January, all of his pay-per-views, he's come out to this song called Take Flight that Soken wrote, the composer for Final Fantasy 14 and 16. And so I'm on the recording, but then 2 weeks before this huge event in Texas, which was at Global Life Field, which is where the Texas Rangers play, Kenny's manager texts me and says, hey, do you want to sing this thing live? And I was like, absolutely. So then, all these things had to fall into place, but it happened. And, but once again, that all came from singing on various video game soundtracks that all sort of happened because I was recommended by this person, or I wrote a song with this person's wife. That was another one. They're like, oh, I think you would be right for this. If we back up a little bit, sort of how I got into the industry was I had a band called Godhead, and we were like a heavier industrial band that I grew up in Virginia, near Washington, D.C., kind of cut my teeth in the Virginia, D.C., Maryland club scene, rock club scene in the 90s, and got my first record deal in like 1995. Toured over in Europe. Then in 99, a little unknown small a singer by the name of Marilyn Manson was starting a record label, and our sound kind of fit what they were looking for, and that really sort of catapulted me into success, and really thankful for that opportunity. But I think I can probably say with absolute certainty that I'm the only artist who has opened for Marilyn Manson and Alan Jackson. If you can find another person that's done that, let me know. Maybe your listeners can find it.
Maybe. But yeah, now that you brought up Godhead, I'd like to ask you about, with your solo stuff that you do now. Obviously that's a change in style for sure.
Yeah.
I guess, has the Southern rock roots, I guess, has that always been with you? Like, how'd that all come to be?
Yeah. So yeah, like I tell people, I grew up in Virginia, kind of surrounded by country music and rock music. And my very first record was John Denver's Greatest Hits. And some people call that country and some people don't. So, that's people were burning papers over that. But anyway, so as a musician, the purity of like Southern music and country music in general, and the songwriting and the song craft has been something that I was always really interested in. And when Godhead got our success, you're in that lane, and that's the lane those are the tours you get offered, and those are the different opportunities that are presented to you. So you stay in that lane. But when Godhead started to slow down a bit, I started making trips to Nashville. I started expanding who I wrote with. I started like making songwriting trips. I would go 4, 6, 8 times a year. And that really expanded my mind on, how to craft a better song, what songs really inspired me, what type of music really inspired me. And so it made me think about where I grew up and incorporating that into what has become my solo sound, which I think at a certain point I might have, I self-admittedly might have kind of veered a little too country for a little while. But now I think what you hear now is I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone.
Yeah.
You're going to hear rock, you're going to hear metal, you're going to hear maybe even industrial, but you're going to hear country and Southern rock as an amalgamation of my sound. And I have, no apologies and no excuses. What you hear is me.
Yeah. And that's when I first started listening to your stuff, that's the first thing I thought of. It's like, it's very unique. Like, that this is a Jason Charles Miller song. And I feel like that's a really cool thing for, I think, as a fan. I'm no pro, but from a fan's point of view, an artist who moves on from their last band or last project, trying to do something that sounds like something fans haven't heard before from them, being able to actually pull that off. And because I remember when I think Steven Tyler put out some kind of country record a long time ago, and a lot of fans are like, I don't know about that, Steven. But so it's really, I feel like when an artist is able to actually pull it off and own it and make it their own sound, I feel like that speaks a lot to their creativity, their talent. Did you feel like right away, I know you just said how this is unapologetically me, this is my stuff. Did you feel when you started to focus more on the solo stuff, the Southern rock stuff, or whatever you want to call your kind of style, was there any bit of did you hesitate? Did you think oh, I don't know how they're going to like this? When you first started to do it?
Yeah, well, any artist, we all have fears and we all sort of have self-doubt. I knew that was coming. I knew that people would say things, and I knew that people wouldn't understand what I was doing. And I knew that a lot of people would just be like, oh, he's doing country now. And then with not really having any knowledge of country music would think that I don't know what they thought that I was doing. But then I was like, just listen to the damn thing. You know what I mean? And that's the hardest part sometimes, is to get people to do that. But Yeah, I knew there was going to be a lot of pushback, and I kind of made a funny music video for my song "Uncountry" that I
Mhm.
wrote with Randall Clay, and we had Robert Picardo from Star Trek play my manager and be like, "What are you doing? You're doing this country now." So we thought we would just really lean into it and
Oh
have a
yeah.
lot of fun with that. So yeah, I knew that would come, but at the same time, I think people by now have realized that I wasn't trying to do anything trendy, that I was
Mhm.
just doing something that really inspired me.
Right. Yeah, and like once you reach that stage, like it has to be more freeing too. Like when you want to put something out that's different, it's like, well, now people know what I'm about. Like this is what
Yeah,
it's going to be. And another thing, I don't know what it is. Maybe you have a better insight on it, but country music and like hard rock, even metal, have always found a weird way to connect. I think
totally.
you look at like the big acts, like Kid Rock, of course, comes to mind. Like in the '90s, he was like he had the new metal stuff going on, and he like flipped right into the country stuff and back again. And like
Hmm.
guys like you got like mainstream guys like Hardy today. He's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, do you see why they connect like that, like so closely? Because maybe it's just the realness of the songwriting. I don't know. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the authenticity of the songwriting. Another person that comes to mind on the other end of the spectrum was like the mid 2000s Jason Aldean records, where they
Mm-hmm.
would tune down to drop D, you know,
Yeah, there were heavy riffs.
you know, and I was like, oh, okay, this is awesome,
Yeah.
and so to see that and to hear that, I think what's happened is, when I was a kid, you kind of had to choose your genre as even as a music fan because you had to go out and buy CDs,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Now, if I want to learn about any style of music, it's all available to
Yep.
me instantly. And so I think especially musicians, not to say that we get bored with one style, but we want to continue to expand and create. And so if we feel like we're stuck in one lane, we might want to try more things or just be inspired. If you're a musician and you've spent your 10,000 hours learning your instrument, you are going to respect guys in all genres of music because you're going to realize how much they've worked and how hard it is to pull off some of the stuff they're pulling off. So I think that musicians especially can really just respect what other styles are doing and then be inspired by that.
Yeah, and I think when a musician, I think that's another thing that separates like artists. Like if they are willing to experiment and do some weird shit, like change stuff around, try new things. At first, I mean, like you got the diehard fans you'll always have them who are like, oh, I can't believe this is what they sound like. They're doing A, B, and C now. Psh,
Mm-hmm.
I like their
Mm-hmm.
old stuff, but what
Right.
really shows the juice in a musician is when they are able to go and try different styles, genres, even. Like I think that's quite frankly, I think that's the coolest thing about music is when they do that.
Me too. I mean, when I got asked to sing Shadowbringers, and by the way, you might hear I've got 3 dogs and they're coming in and out all the time.
You're
So
good. You're
they're
good.
coming to figure it out. I mean, there's, anything more country than that. I don't know.
For
Here's
sure.
one right here.
Yeah.
So when I got asked to sing Shadowbringers, which was the first song I got asked to sing on Final Fantasy 14. Little did I know that would lead to these gigantic concerts all over the world. I've sung with the Tokyo Philharmonic Orchestra. I've sung with the BBC Orchestra. I've been flown to Saudi Arabia to sing, South Korea, Japan, China, England, but I've done that with my rock stuff too.
Mhm.
But little did I know that I would have to learn to sing with an orchestra, which was something that I hadn't done since college.
Mhm.
Since I took choir in college. So, the amount of respect and work that people put into all of that is just mind-boggling to me. And so I always want to make sure that I'm fully prepared for those kind of gigs and put as much effort into it as I possibly can so that I can keep up with what's happening.
Yeah.
I'm used to the drummer counting me off. Now I have to look at a conductor out of the corner of my eye because I'm in front of him, he's behind me, and the percussion doesn't come in for like a minute and a half on this one song, and I just have to hope that I'm right. Which, you know, some opera singers might laugh, but I haven't studied opera since I was in high school, maybe. So, you know,
I never thought about that.
yeah, it's kind of wild.
Yeah, man. So when you do like try all these different things, it's like you were obviously busy with so many different things, and whether it's if you look back to the Godhead stuff or the solo stuff or the video game stuff that you're doing, do you change your approach to songwriting or the way that you play your instrument, like anything like that, or is it usually pretty much the same? Like you don't like it's just all natural, or do you? Yeah.
No. So for example, I just was hired to write a theme song for a TV show, in fact. And I asked them to give me as many examples as they could of what they were looking for. And they gave me 5 bands. And I was like, okay, got it. You know, I know what you want. When I'm writing for another project, it's honestly easier for me to focus in on what someone's looking for than if I'm writing for myself. Because if I'm writing for a solo record, I'll go, no, I wouldn't say that. Or no, I said that 3 albums ago. Or I go to that chord too many times. But if it's for another project or another artist, it's a lot easier for me to just immerse myself and get something done. What someone taught me early on, and I know it was a writer in Nashville, and it was probably a guy by the name of Chris Burgess. And what he told me was, he goes, write for the sake of the song. Meaning, you know, if you're in a co-write with someone else and you just want to come up with something that's worthy, don't think too much about who you're writing it for or why you're writing it, or if it's for you or if it's for the other artist. Just write for the sake of that specific song. And what I realized once I put myself in that mindset is that, you know, you can come up with something that may be influenced even by a song that you've written before. But if it fits for that song and the instinct is right, just go for it.
Okay. Yeah. And when you are writing in any aspect, I feel like it would be very hard for an artist to not overcomplicate, I guess. I don't know if that's a good word for it. Like to overdo a song, like because like, you know, you're probably like, I want to make this the best I could make it. And like with anything, if you overdo it, maybe it just gets too convoluted. Maybe like I was talking a while back. I had Bill Gibson from Huey Lewis and the News on here. He's the drummer, and he was talking to me about like there's drummers we're talking here, but like there you could hit the cymbal too many times. You can do too many fills, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, do you ever get a feeling like when you're crafting a song, you're like, okay, I'm overdoing this, or I need to cut back on that?
Hold that thought for 1 second, because I've got one dog in here and he won't stop chewing on this bone, and I'm sure it's coming through. So let me just like kind of put him in the other room.
You're good, man. You're good.
Come on.
Please stand by.
All right, I sent him on his merry way.
All good.
Okay. So could you repeat the question?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So when you're writing and trying to put a song together, do you ever feel like you might overcomplicate it per se, or to a point to where like, all right, I did too much here, I did too much there? Like basically, like, is it a natural flow and you're like, I know this song is finished, or does it take a while to cut and trim, and like, how's that go for you?
Well, in general, I'm usually editing songs as I'm writing them. If I think a part is too long, I'll just throw it out. One crazy thing happened to me during lockdown, and that is a video game company approached me, who I had a relationship with. They're called Codename Entertainment, and they put out a game that's a Dungeons and Dragons based video game called Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms. and they said, look, we've got all this marketing money set aside that we would normally go to conventions with and promote our game. But obviously there's no conventions going on right now. We would like to do a show on Twitch with you. What do you think? What would you like to do? And I said, well, why don't we do a songwriting show where in 2 hours, give me a co-host that works for the video game company who really knows the lore of the game. And I said, we'll write a song every week with the audience so that in 2 hours, no matter what happens, we will have a completed song. And what that did was it made me make decisions really fast. Because I knew I had a limited amount of time and I had to get to the end of the song by the end of the episode. And what actually was really great about that whole show was that we signed a contract for 10 episodes and we ended up doing 70 episodes. And every week we would write a new song about a new subject, something to do with the game. Then actually they hired me to record 23 of them in the studio, and now they're in that game.
Okay.
So we kind of created this wild thing. But what that did is that forced me to make quick decisions, and it forced me to kind of keep to a sort of a pop song formula of like 3 to 4 minutes. But then what I found was after that, there are other songwriters. Like when I wrote a song with Joe Pug, we wrote a song in like 90 minutes because we just were both really fast writers. And you can always go back and, of course, like beat a line or add a section or add a bridge. Although I think it was Tony Sampley that once said to me, why build a bridge if you're going to burn it later? So, so yeah, I find that simpler is better. Get to the point, tell the story that you want to tell in that song for the genres that I write in, which are technically, for the most part, rock and country.
Yep. Right on. And I was also wondering, just like with, so I'm 27, so I caught the end of the CDs before streaming really took over. So that's where I got to experience CDs. I have a shit ton behind me right now. And just with the change in the music industry, obviously, you started like with Godhead up to now. So
Right.
With you experiencing every single change, I guess like, was it easy to change with it, to evolve to that next step in the music industry to where it is today? Like, how was it trying to navigate that?
Navigating it was a little bit difficult at first because you weren't sure if this was going to be a trend or where it was going to end up.
Mm-hmm.
I jokingly will go like, in my day, we recorded on tape, young man, and we actually did like the first few demos that Godhead ever did. And actually even our first album, we recorded on tape.
Yeah.
And then after that, digital recording, was widespread enough that we never really looked back after that. Sometimes we mastered to tape to kind of get, some different frequencies in there, but recording on, a digital audio program is been most of my career.
Mm-hmm.
So, but beyond that, sort of trusting whatever team you're involved with, your back, whatever record label you're signed to or your management team to decide, what do we embrace? What do we hold back on? I think I always like to be on the forefront of technology because I like to be kind of the first one there. There's advantages and disadvantages to that. The theme song that I wrote for several songs on Twitch, I got no royalties for because BMI and ASCAP didn't have an agreement with Twitch till years later.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is before the songwriting show. This was on a channel called Geek and Sundry that I happened to write just a lot of theme songs for their shows. I eventually got some royalty money, but I was like, wow, the amount of people that are watching this show that I wrote this song for, there's more people watching this show than watch television shows. But if it was on television, I'd be getting royalties. But because it's on this new technology, I'm not. But it all kind of worked out in the end. So I'm not too worried about that. So what I say is embrace new technology, and let it be a tool rather than let it control you. You know, obviously there's a lot of talk about AI and things of that nature. I mean, as a creative, I hate hearing AI created music like from scratch,
Yeah.
you know. But look, when I'm writing a song, I'll use Rhyme Zone, you know, so that kind of gives me something. First I used a rhyming dictionary, then I used Rhyme Zone. If I hear of someone wanting to complete a song and asking AI some suggestions, I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think that's kind of a right way to use the tool. I think that if you punch into a AI music program and say, give me a song that sounds like this, and then it just pops back out, well, that's not really writing.
Right.
You know, that's just the computer did that. The program did that. So there's a way to use it that I think can enhance the human composition. And there's a way that's like, it's not really doing much.
Yeah. And it's such like a hot topic right now, AI is. And like, I feel like, not that I understand it more than anyone else, but I feel like that's the problem. No one understands really.
Right.
Though, like there are, you know, there's right, like you said, right ways to use it, wrong ways to use it, and like that reminded me. I mean, like we got that new Beatles song last year because AI was able to salvage what like all the different parts of it, and we're able to bring it together. It wasn't made with AI. It was aided by AI.
Right. And it was approved and you know, supervised by Paul McCartney and Ringo. So you know, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And another thing, like obviously social media is huge now and is a big part of the music industry as well. So have you dove onto the whole TikTok thing? And like, if you have, like, has it been hard to really get used to that too?
Yeah. I TikTok is one that I'm not on as much, but I do post there. I kind of like start with Instagram and then post out from there.
Yeah.
So if I have a video that I know will work, I'll also post it on TikTok, and we use it for promotion. We post snippets of our music videos on there and things like that. But you know, I was talking to my very first manager was a guy named Scott Cohen, and he went on to form The Orchard, which was the #1 music distributor, the #1 independent music distributor in the world. And then they sold that to Sony. And so he's been in the music industry forever. And he's now retired. But when he was working at Warner Brothers during the pandemic, he told me, he goes, we don't even develop it. And he was out of artist development at that point. So I'm not really saying anything that's you know, any insider info at this point. But there was a time when he's like, we don't really develop artists anymore. We just find artists that are trending on TikTok. And even he thought that kind of sucked. You know what I mean? He was like, this is really, you know, what is this? What are we doing here? And but at the same time, if an artist is lucky enough that one of their sounds is trending on TikTok, then, you know, more power to them, because I think that the cream will still rise to the top. And if they've got the stuff to be an artist with some longevity, and TikTok is what helped them, well, what's different from that than this one DJ in Buffalo that decided to play the Goo Goo Dolls, and then everyone else followed suit after that, and then the Goo Goo Dolls, after like their 6th album, became an overnight success. You know, like there are different stories like that all the time, and there will be more opportunities for people to break through with new technologies. We just don't know what it'll be next.
Yeah, and that's a great way to put it. And I think that like that is like the best case scenario for sure. And but like I'm thinking, and I might have this all wrong because I'm not, like, you know, I'm not in the business, but like say you get someone goes viral on TikTok and they become, like, you know, huge, and then they get thrown on like a festival stage and they like haven't even played like live before.
Right.
Like I feel like that could be, you know, that's where I'm always like iffy on the whole thing, because what you just said is like that's great and absolutely correct, but like, and then you got to look at the guys that like that could like ruin their
Yes.
Like it'll hinder their
Yes.
career, it won't help. And
that's when I hope that if whoever that happens to, I hope that they have at least one foot in the industry. And what I mean by that is I hope that they have a team behind them, a management team or a label or an agent that can guide them on the right path to be like, hey, you're not ready to play that festival yet. Or, hey, you got booked on that festival in 6 months. Let's get you ready.
yeah,
There still needs to be a level that people are used to as an audience. They're going to want to see something that they're going to want to see a level of quality, and there needs to be somebody there to help them. So if that happens to you, dear TikToker, reach out to hopefully a reputable management company that can help you get there.
Exactly. But let's talk a bit about your album that came out in July. Cards on the Table, All In. I gave it a re-listen today.
Thanks.
Yeah, love it. And I was just curious, I guess, like, were you happy with the reception and how all the fans reacted when you dropped it?
Yeah, well, it was a re-release, so we kind of did it as a secret, right? So last year, my album Knives in the Dark, that's technically my most recent album because Cards on the Table is a combo of a couple of things. During the pandemic, I released 2 mini albums. They weren't quite EPs because one album had 7 songs, one album had 8 songs, and they were called From the Wreckage Parts 1 and 2. I then released a sort of best of those both 2 called Cards on the Table in 2023. And then now here in 2025, I took all the songs, put them all back together, made the album cover gold, made it like a deluxe thing, because there were people that were asking for those 4 songs that were missing.
Yeah.
So I'm on a great new label called One Opportunity Records. And we had this conversation about, hey, why don't we just gather all those songs, put it on one collection and put it out? So that's what Cards on the Table All In is. And I'm just really glad that it's new to some people, but also people that were waiting around for those songs that I released a few years ago that were then off the market are now happy to hear those songs again.
Right on. Yeah, I loved it, man. And I should have done my homework. My bad. I didn't know it was a re-release.
It's okay. Yeah.
But no, I loved it. And do you have anything that you can say that you guys are working on now that you might want to talk about?
Yeah. So my favorite, I'm a huge soccer fan, a huge, English football fan. And my favorite team in the world is from a little town in England called Wolverhampton. And they always walk out to a Jeff Beck song called Hi Ho Silver Lining. And the crowd changes Silver Lining to Wolverhampton. And I thought, well, why don't I put a take on that? That song came out in, I think, 1968 or something. Why don't I put my own spin on it? So in honor of the Premier League starting next week, I have my own version of Hi Ho Silver Lining and a version where the lyrics are changed to Wolverhampton. And I actually got permission from the publishers of the song that I could officially change the lyrics to Wolverhampton for this release. So that's kind of fun. It's the first one of its kind. And the folks at the team know about it and they're really supportive of it. So that's what's coming next. Then after that, I've got a song called Run for the Hills, which will be my first country radio release in a long time. And that'll be coming out in either September or October. It's being mixed right now.
Right on. Well, I can't wait, dude. But now I'm wondering what got you into Wolverhampton.
Oh, okay. So, years ago, Godhead played Wolverhampton, and the theme of that town, the nickname of the team is Wolves, and the theme of that whole town is wolves. Wolves are everywhere. I love dogs. I love wolves. When you don't have your own soccer team or your own sports team, you kind of pick one. Sports fans know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And so I picked that team years ago. And so that's always just been my team. But what's great is I'm playing a concert there in November. I played there last year and I have a ton of friends there. And it's sort of like my home away from home.
Right on, dude. But before we get out of here, man, I guess if you want to let us know, you kind of hit on it earlier, but with shows or anything you got coming up for the next couple months or so, if off the top of your head.
Yeah, actually, better than off the top of my head, let me look on my website
All
because
right.
that would be, we can edit this, right?
That's all right. We're a ragtag podcast over here. It's fine.
Okay. Okay, cool. So my, let me see.
Good plug for the website too. Y'all make sure to look it up.
Yeah. JasonCharlesMiller.com. Okay. So the very next two shows I have are in Atlanta. Because when is this going to post?
This is going to post in, I believe, 2 weeks.
Okay. So August 29th and August 31st, will that still be relevant?
It might be week of that.
Yeah. So I'm playing a giant convention called Dragon Con. It's in Atlanta, but the cool thing about Dragon Con is that they book they book national acts to play at night. So like Shooter Jennings has played there. I think Rob Zombie's played there. Godhead played there. We opened for Guar. We opened for the Misfits, and we opened for Clutch before. So I'm playing there this year. August 29th, I'm doing an acoustic show, and August 31st, a full band show. After that, before I go to Japan, I'm playing another kind of immersive event called Wasteland Weekend. If you look up my song In the Wasteland, you will see footage from Wasteland Weekend. I call that Angry Burning Man because it's everyone's kind of heard of Burning Man at this point. Wasteland Weekend is where everyone dresses up like they're in a Mad Max movie or Fallout or some kind of apocalyptic movie, and they're fully immersed in the festival for a week. And they've got bands playing. It's super fun. You feel like you're on the set of like, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. They have a Thunderdome there.
Oh, wow.
Even. Yeah. And so that's super fun. And then I fly to Japan to do 2 nights at Budokan, which with the Primals, which is Soken, the composer of Final Fantasy. It's his rock band.
Okay.
And the way he invited me to sing at this thing was so funny because he sent me this note and he's like, hey, we're going to be doing 2 nights at this sports arena in Tokyo. He goes, I don't know. He goes, it's very popular with bands all over the world. I don't know why, because it's a sports arena and the acoustics are terrible. But have you ever heard of Budokan? And I just laughed because, Cheap Trick live at Budokan is like one of,
legendary,
like a legendary album. Yeah. So it's like, absolutely. And I think I just wrote back like, hell yeah, in all caps. So there's 2 nights there. And then in November, I'm going to be touring in England. So I have about a dozen shows in England with my friend Hannah Aldrich, who is an Americana artist. And so we're about half of them are acoustic and half of them are full band. So look for those dates as well.
Right on. Sounds like you got a busy last half the year coming. That's great to hear, man.
I'm grateful to be busy, man.
Yeah, absolutely. But Jason, thank you so much for hopping on. This was a lot of fun and a long time in the making. I'm glad we could make it happen.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. And if you also wanted to tell people like your socials, like Instagram, Facebook, anything like that.
Yeah. So my website's JasonCharlesMiller.com, and my name on almost every social media is Jason Charles Miller, except for Twitter/X because my name's too long. So it's Jason C. Miller, but everywhere else is Jason Charles Miller. So I'm on Instagram a lot. I'm on, I've got a YouTube channel, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. And when I'm not on the road, and I forgot to mention this, when I'm not on the road, every Monday night and Wednesday night from 7 to 9 Pacific, I'm live on Twitch playing acoustic. So I'll take requests. I started this during the pandemic and I just never stopped because I'm a Twitch partner. So my Twitch channel is also twitch.tv/Jason Charles Miller, my name. And I've got over 400 songs that I'll play, and it's just me talking to the audience and playing, and I love it because it keeps me practicing, it keeps my chops going, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Y'all make sure to check that out for sure. I myself need to get on Twitch more. That's another thing I haven't really dove into. I'd like to check you out. So, absolutely. Jason, like I said, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. Everyone make sure to check him out. Also check out Ray's Rowdy Alternative. We're on everything. Just Google us and we'll pop up.
Yeah.
So,
I forgot one more thing too.
No, you're fine.
Here we are. Like, this is a podcast audience. I have a podcast.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, it's called Intro Skippers, and it's totally I co-host it with my friend Kim Horcher, who is a reporter at IGN, and it's just me and Kim talking about shows that we like. It's kind of just if you want to just relax for a while and just think about something completely different. Like this week's episode is on King of the Hill. We did the new King of the Hill, which, as you know, is awesome.
It's my favorite show.
Last week we did it on the show Trainwreck. So we talked about like raiding Area 51 and the poop cruise. So we joke that it's like if a dog and a cat had a podcast, because we don't necessarily look like we would be friends, but we're totally good friends. And so, yeah, check it out. It's called Intro Skippers.
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to check that out, especially the King of the Hill episode.
Yeah.
I love, did you like the reboot?
I love it. I love the reboot. It's great.
I loved it. Yeah, it's great. But Jason, thank you so much. Everyone else, thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, man.